Today, we're talking about the new Pokemon starters. And look, whenever Game Freak reveals a new starter trio, people don't just want a clean PNG and a Pokédex number. They want reassurance. They want to know if we're about to get another generation of designs that feel iconic, or another generation where the final evolutions turn your cute starter into something that looks like it clocks into a 9 to 5. Because this isn't just 3 new Pokemon. Starters are the face of a generation. They're the first impression. They're the first mascot lineup. They're what everyone talks about for weeks before we even see half the regional Pokédex. And the community has a very specific pattern with starter reveals. Every time a new trio drops, the internet collectively loses its mind and says, why do they look so goofy? And you know what? I get it. Because at first glance, they usually do. But here's the thing. This reaction isn't new. It's not unique to this generation. And it's not even fully about design. A lot of it is about how people experience Pokemon now. So if you've been seeing the memes that this looks like a Digimon, that they ruined Pokemon, the Bring Black Gen 1 post, let's break down why this happens every single time. Why the starter always looks weirder in reveal season, and why half the people complaining today will be defending this design in 2 years like they always do. Now, let's start with the obvious. This community is extremely predictable. Starters reveals are basically the same event on repeat. Step 1 is reveal PNGs, Step 2 mass panic, Step 3 memes, Step 4 fan redesigns, Step 5 final evolution leaks, Step 6 actual gameplay footage, Step 7 is everybody switches up. And I don't say that to clown anyone because to be honest, I'm part of the community too. I'm saying it because if we're going to be honest, Pokemon fans have developed this habit of judging designs like they're judging album covers. One still image, no context, no animation, no personality, no in-game vibe. Just a picture and a reaction. And when you judge a starter like that, you're basically asking to hate it. Because Pokemon designs aren't meant to live in a vacuum. They're meant to move, emote, battle, react, idle, and develop into something else. And the starter is literally the most unfinished version of itself you'll ever see. So yes, it will look goofy, and it looks goofy. It's the baby form. So, just a quick pause, if you like Pokemon takes like this and you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe. And if you can do me a favor for the algorithm, comment your starter picks right now. Now, the biggest reason people think the starter looks goofy is because we're judging them in the worst format possible, a static PNG. Pokemon are designed with idle animations, facial expressions, movement style, sound cues, battle poses, and personality. A still image strips all of that away. It's like judging a person's personality from a passport photo. No bro, that's not how that works. A lot of Pokemon designs only click once you see them moving. That's why starter hate always softens after the first gameplay trailer. Because suddenly, the design has rhythm. It has attitude, it has a vibe, it has a way of existing in the world. And Pokemon has always been more about vibe than perfect concept art. The franchise was built on attachment, not on design purism. Now let's talk about the real problem, and that is nostalgia. People love saying older starters were cleaner and cooler. And you know what, to be fair, some of them were. But a lot of them were also goofy as hell. We just grew up with them, so, we don't perceive them as goofy. Now let's do a quick reality check. We have had a turtle with cannon in its back, a fire chicken that becomes a martial artist, a literal clown mime, a wrestler cat, a spy frog ninja, a soccer rabbit, a drummer gorilla, and a duck with a pompadour. This series has always had goofy designs. The difference is, when you were a kid, you didn't call it goofy, you called it cool. Because you bonded with it, you battled with it, you won gyms with it, you used it to beat your cousin. Not literally though, okay? So please don't do that. You watched the anime and saw it became a character. So when new starters show up, your brain automatically compares them to the emotional version of your childhood starters, not the actual designs. Now, that's not a fair comparison. That's nostalgia doing what it always does. Another big reason people think new starters looks goofy is because modern starter designs leans into character energy. Older starters often felt more like animals or creatures. Simple silhouettes, natural proportions, less human-coded posture. Modern starters often feel like this one is the performer, this one is the athlete, this one is the edgy ones, this one is the quirky mascot. More expressive faces, more stylized body language, sometimes more humanoid shapes even at early stages. And that creates an instant clash with a portion of the fandom. Because there are two kinds of Pokemon fans. Number one is fans who love monster Pokemon. Wild, mysterious, creature-first designs. Number two is fans who love character Pokemon. Personality-forward designs with strong themes. When a new starter trio drops, if the trio leans character-heavy, monster fans panic. And that panic turns into why do they look goofy? Because goofy is a catch-all word for this doesn't match my mental image of what Pokemon should be. Now, here's where it gets worse, the internet. Because once one meme hits, it becomes the official narrative. Sometimes, somebody compares the fire starter to a random object, somebody calls the water starter a children's cereal's mascot, somebody says the grass starter looks like a bootleg plush, and then everyone repeats it. Not because they believe it, because, it's fun to repeat it. It becomes a group activity, and now the design isn't being discussed honestly. It's being discussed through a meme lens. That's why starter discourse is never neutral. It becomes a team sports. People aren't asking, is this a strong design? They're asking, is this memeable? At the moment a design becomes memeable, it's over. Because Pokemon fans will meme it to death, then pretend they always loved it later. Again, it's a very predictable cycle that we always see. So, let's be real. When people say this starter looks goofy, half the time they're not even talking about the starters. They're talking about what they think the final evolution is going to be. Because a lot of players have trauma now. They pick a starter that looks adorable and it evolves into something wildly different. Something more humanoid, something with a job. I'm sorry about that. I know that's a very scary word to say, but yeah, something with a job. Something with a theme that's too specific. And the worst part, that fear is understandable because the final Evo is the version you're stuck with for 90% of the game. So starter reveals aren't just starter reveals, they're a trust test. The community is basically asking, can we trust Game Freak not to take this somewhere weird? And because the trust has been shaky, in some gens, people panic early. They see even a hint of stylization and they go, come on now, don't do it, don't you dare. And that's what's happening under the surface. And here's the part people don't like hearing. Most starter designs aren't actually bad. They're just unfamiliar. And unfamiliar feels wrong at first. That's human. That's normal. Your brain is wired to accept what it recognizes. That's why Gen 1 designs feel clean. And you've seen them for 20 years. You've seen them on shirts, cards, memes, toys, fan art, everything. Of course they feel right. New starters haven't earned that familiarity yet. They haven't had time to become part of your mental Pokemon library. So you see them and you go, what is this? But once you play the game, see them animate, see their evolutions, build a team, have moments with them, your opinion often changes because Pokemon is an attachment machine. The design is just the entry point. The relationship is what makes it iconic. So the question is, what makes a starter design good anyway? If you want to be fair, good designs for starters usually comes down to a few things. Number 1 is strong silhouette, recognizable even in shadow. Number 2 is clear typing or theme, you get what it's about immediately. Number 3 is personality, the starter feels like it has a character. Number 4 is evolution potential, you can imagine how it could grow. Number 5 is cohesion, the final evolution still feels connected to the base form. Now, that last one is the killer because you can have a great base form, but if the final evo feels unrelated, fans feel betrayed. So when people call starters goofy, it's often shorthand for I don't see the evolution path, not necessarily that the design is objectively bad. So who is this trio for? Now this part matters because not everyone wants the same thing. If you love starters that feel expressive, stylized, themed, character driven, you're probably like this trio. If you prefer starters that feel wild, creature-like, less humanoid, more monster than mascot, you may bounce off the trio initially. And that doesn't make you wrong. It just means you're reacting to the direction. The bigger problem is when people pretend the direction is objectively ruining Pokemon. Because Pokemon has always had both. It just shifts emphasis each generation. So my bottom line is, if people think the new starters look goofy, you know what? I get it. I understand why the first impression hits like that. But I also think starter reveal season is the worst time to make a final judgment because everything is incomplete right now. We haven't seen the full context, we haven't seen how they move, we haven't seen the final evolutions properly, we haven't even seen the personality and how they exist in the world. And more importantly, I've seen this movie way too many times. Half the people roasting these designs today are going to be defending them later. Now, I'm telling you, that is not a guess. That's Pokemon history. So yeah, the new Pokemon starters might look goofy to you right now, that's valid. But don't confuse goofy at reveal with bad long term, because those are two completely different things. Now, you know what I want to hear from you, and this helps the algorithm too. Which starter looks the most goofy and which one do you think will have the best final evolution? Drop your pick in the comments. If you've enjoyed this breakdown, like the video and subscribe. We're doing more Pokemon and gaming topics like this. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.